Hello, this is the LEGO Star Wars Duel on Mustafar set. I'm going to give you a quick look at everything this comes with and then circle back around and look at some details and share my personal thoughts. From an overhead view, you can see that you can swing this thing into two completely different shapes or have it anywhere in between. I'm just going to start with it like this, which is more of the way that they showed it in more of the pictures where it's kind of a longitudinal design. Now the two fighting spots for the figures are able to slide back and forth in these channels. Each one is limited to its own side, but they've got these little handles on the sides as well. So if you set up their lightsabers at the appropriate angles, then you can actually just, kind of have them swinging them back and forth at each other and blocking and parrying. One of the platforms is just one of those basic mining platforms that Obi-Wan walks around on. It just floats above the surface of the lava, and this is able to spin around full 360 degrees. You can put a figure on there however you want, and that's just supposed to be the little control pad for the person to control where it goes. Anakin, meanwhile, is on top of a droid, so just has a single stud there to make it convenient to put him on at different angles, and the droid has been squashed down a bit because he's not used to having that much weight on top of him, and you can just see the eyes right there, a couple little arms, and they're just folded up. You're not able to really do anything with those arms. They only move just slightly up and down. You can rotate these around if you want to put something in those little hands, but that's it. It's basically just another simple platform for a figure. Behind all that action is one of these control arms or collector arms. I've seen it referred to in different ways, but ultimately it's a thing that starts off in this position and then breaks off in the big long duel scene. And here they let you actually put it into a vertical standing or rotate it all the way back completely away from you. So I suppose you could have figures that are going along the edge of this, and that will work either way. There are just a few spots where you can attach them actually onto the surface with some studs, so you can have that kind of thing going on, and then just imagine the whole thing falls off. It's not really intended to fall down the way that it does in this scene, but they just give you a few options for how you can set that up. And then there's just one other small little feature down here. It's kind of camouflaged, but this is an actuator. You can push that in, and you can see how it kind of has a ram on the other side, or a piston that's going to push against these loose studs. And the idea there is that those studs will just splash out, and it creates kind of a sparking effect. You have little bits of lava that just go all over the place is the idea there. It doesn't really do much, to be honest, but it's something, and you can put different sizes and shapes of pieces in there if you want to make it look a little more spectacular than just that. The figures are new versions of Obi-Wan and Anakin, or I guess we should call him Darth Vader at this point, even though he doesn't have the eyes. Maybe you could see him as kind of going back and forth between his two forms before he fully solidified in the Vader side of things, but I don't know about that. They call him Anakin officially, but notice that the outfits have all the little burn marks, which is absolutely appropriate here. I think the level of detail is pretty good. Not super happy with that face for Obi-Wan, but it's unique, it's different, and it's appropriate, showing that bit of despair and sadness over Anakin's turn. So maybe not the most useful thing for most battle scenarios, but a good one to have regardless. And there are alternate faces for both of these. Fortunately, these are more important. So they're clearly fully Darth Vader and a very mad Obi-Wan. Let me also show you how these get framed up by the same hair pieces. And I think both of these work out pretty well. I got an interesting production variation between the lightsaber blades for these two figures. As far as I can tell from feeling the material and also looking more closely, these are both actually the newer type of plastic that LEGO came out with late last year to replace all of their transparent parts. But obviously the one on the right is almost transparent. It's actually just a little bit frosted, but the one on the left is very, very frosted. So two extremes of what's possible to get. It's strange that I got the two in a single set, but it'll be interesting to see in the future if they start to lean more in one direction or the other. I think a lot of people prefer the more clear pieces in general, but for lightsabers in particular, the more frosted one looks more real. Like in real situations, it's hard to tell here in the studio, but just feels like there's more light emanating from, or at least refracting from and diffusing from this more frosted blade compared to the more crystal ones that just let light through. It's a pretty small set, so there aren't a lot of spare parts, and the ice skate piece is an extra from the build for the droid, the little droid, mining droid platform that Anakin or Darth Vader stands on. Now, when I first saw the pictures of this set, there were a number of things that I didn't like about it, and some of those things have stuck with me, and I've gotten over some others. First of all, the red color for the base, I feel, wasn't the best choice for the lava. I think that going more towards the orange would have been better, or if they had more of the trans orange pieces over the top, or maybe even a little bit of trans neon reddish orange or orangish red could have worked a little bit better. When you look down in the trough where they have more of the transparent orange in there, I think that looks so much better. Even when it's against the yellow, like if they went against yellow and then against orange, I think that would have just felt more like a lava flow. As it is right now, these are just such solid red pieces that it breaks the fantasy for me just a little bit. I do very much like how these two platforms can go back and forth. You know, you can separate them out, you can get them closer, and you can actually have battles. I think that can actually be fun for people of multiple ages to get there and, you know, have little lightsaber battles. Just, you know, it's a good, useful action feature. You know, something that's not done just to be able to say that, hey, we put some action features in it and kids like action features. No, this actually makes sense. So that I'm very happy with. I do wish that they had set it up so you could slide these across to each other's zones a little bit more, but with a little bit of modification, I think you can make that happen. You might need to add one single additional piece in there. This little thing off on the side to toss off some little studs does nothing for me. But what I like most about this that I didn't recognize at first is that you can do this and completely transform the look of it. This is just such a better appearing little display diorama, like a miniature diorama. That looks really good to me. That's something that I would be happy as a Star Wars geek to just display in my cubicle at a workspace, or, you know, on a shelf or something, just like that. That's a really, really good look. And I feel like Lego did a very poor job of showing this version of it, this view of it, in their initial pictures and all their official pictures of it. This is what you want to see. And this, to me, just looks good. You can still use the features. See, they can still go back and forth. You're a little bit blocked back here by this whole structure, but you can still use the action feature. They can actually get a bit closer to each other, and, you know, there are all these ways that you can set them up. So I'm actually very happy with this, while I was quite unhappy with this at first. Now I'm okay with it. And then you also have the in-betweens like that. You can still play with this. You know, you can get them closer together, farther apart, but I don't know. I feel like choose one. This isn't so bad, you know, for almost an architecture skyline sort of appearance where you're not seeing much depth, but it does look pretty respectable from the side. And then just this, I think, is the way. Oops. I think this is the way to do it right here. So that's pretty good. Looking at value, this is 208 pieces for $20 US, so the price to part ratio on paper looks pretty good. And when I consider the number of very small pieces compared to the number of medium-sized pieces, compared to the few large pieces in there, relatively large pieces, and the number of figures, it all just balances out. And I feel like the volume of stuff that you get here also, when you fold the two halves together to really feel the volume, to really see the volume all in one spot, as compressed as it gets, it makes sense to me. I would love to see this cheaper, sure. I would always love to see Lego sets cheaper, but all things considered, relative to prices of things of the same size, I think you get a decent, respectable value here. And if you can find it like a couple dollars off, you know, 10% or 15% off, that would be fantastic. But as it is, I think the value is just fine. If you want to see the build of this, I've got 2 versions up for you. You can check out the regular speed build, kind of time-lapse style, or you can check out the real-time build, which has no talking, no music, just ASMR quality sound of putting the pieces together. So I've got my JANG Builds It channel for the speed builds and pure builds for the real-time builds. You can check out one of those if you would like. If you want to see what I have done on my channel, any new videos that I've put up, be sure to come and manually look at the channel itself, because you can no longer rely on YouTube to let you know when a creator that you watch has uploaded new stuff. So just check back on a regular basis or check into my other social media accounts. I'll try to keep things posted up there on a fairly regular basis, of what I've been up to recently, and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you very much for watching.